Okay, we're good. All right. Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This is a very special episode of SharkCast Pod, groundbreaking, dare I say, as someone in front of me flexes. This is the now annual 12 days of Christmas for the Cronulla Sharks, as told by SharkCast Pod hosts. And tonight we have a whole bunch of hosts. We're creating history here, and I'm just going to go through them one by one. So on my screen, next in line after me, Sam Shinazzi, is Joshua Bolling. Josh, how you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
Next up, we have, he's only done the one episode, but he's part of the family. It was a great episode. You know him from such shows as Studio 10 and I don't know. What else are you on? Mr. Cameron Webb, the mosquito guy.
Hey, Sam. Hi, guys. Nice to be with you. Talking Sharks as we wind out the year. Thanks for having me, Sam.
It's a pleasure. I should say you're on every show, not just Studio 10, as much as I do love Studio 10. We also have on our screen, you know him. His name is Gary Dover. He represents the Sharks tonight officially, so watch what you say. Gary Dover, how you going?
I'm going well. Happy Festivus to you, Sam Shinazzi.
Starts today.
It does start today, and I'm stoked about it, and good to be on here with everyone.
I've got a lot of things to tell you guys. And last but not least, in fact, let's admit it, he's the most special guy on this podcast. He is a creator, an innovator, the host of this Zoom account, Jardian Ormsby. Hi, Jards, how are you?
I'm good, Sam. Thanks for having me. I don't know how many people we have that listen to the podcast who really, really like basketball as well as rugby, the way that I do. But I always wondered how Clyde Drexler felt when he was named to the 1992 Dream Team amongst all those superstars. And I kind of feel a little bit like Clyde Drexler now. I'm in the presence of Sharks greatness, co-host greatness here. I feel like I was introduced last because I not only came late, but I'm also the least of my fellow Sharks fans. So I'm excited though. This is pretty banging.
You're the innovator of this competition, of this episode. It was your idea last year to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be good fun.
Would you like to briefly tell everyone what's happening?
So last year, Sam and I did an episode where we went through basically the 12 days of Christmas, but changed it a little bit to the 12 days of Sharkmas, where we put together a list of 12 wishes that we would like to see come true. And we had a pretty good list. It was pretty fun. Some of them were very, very serious. Some of them were a little bit more on the playful side. And it was received very well as an episode when we did it last year. So we thought that we would get the band together and do it as a group, because there's probably a few different things that we're wishing for next year. And in a nutshell, that's what it is. So what we will do over the next hour and a half is talk about, amongst the five of us, our 12 wishes that we would like to see happen in 2022. And I don't know how demanding my fellow co-hosts are going to be in this next hour, but I'm going to be very demanding of what my expectations are. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we do have to point out that two key members are not here. Clinton Maynard is getting ready to do an overnight shift for 2GB. So please listen to him. He's on weeknights, midnight to dawn. And man, he is copying it left, right, and center about the central theme of the world right now. So give him a bit of love. And also our friend TK could not be here. He had one too many at the Gallon fight last night, and he's feeling a bit dusty. So we send our thoughts to him as well, but we'll move on. Before we get to the topic of the day, let's quickly talk about the big news. Oregon Kaufusi is a Shark in 2023. He's played about 22 games for the Eels. Big bopper, a bench guy at the moment. And what do we think about that, fellas? 2-year deal. Someone.
Oh, well, I don't know too much about him. I know his name. Is there any relation to Felice?
Stop asking hard questions.
Well, no, I couldn't tell you too much about him, honestly. The only thing I can...
You would know him if you saw him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, He's a big guy, but I couldn't tell you much about his actual football ability. I am a little concerned about the potential pricing being about 400,000 a year for a relatively unproven guy. I'm not sure if there's any truth to that. Maybe Gaz can shed some light on that, but
He's played more games than Nico Hines.
Has
Come
he?
on, he's 44 NRL games actually for Oregon Kaufusi. But yeah, he's a young dude, a highly rated junior, and I think he's played. I honestly don't know too much about him either, Josh. So I'm in the same boat. But I know he's played 16s, 18s, and 20s for New South Wales coming through, and Australian schoolboys and things like that. And yeah, like you look at our front row stocks at the moment, and obviously someone's going to be leaving next year. So just to bring in that sort of youth will be good for us. And he's an imposing young dude. I think he's from New Zealand. Born in New Zealand, and he's something like 114 kilograms and 188 centimeters or something like that. So another little Franklin Pele, I think we've got on our hands.
Well, he's a bit more agile at the moment, and he could kind of play like lock, but he'd be a very big lock. But he's a big bopper, and you do have to pay overs a little bit, Josh, because he's been at Parramatta the whole time, and they would have offered him a deal. They didn't want to let him go. So you probably have to pay a little bit overs. Cam, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, it's good to have him kind of in the squad and a bit of depth. But I was quite surprised actually he's played that many games. I mean, he's one of those guys that I know about because you see him floating around on when you're playing fantasy NRL and stuff like that. But I can't say that I've seen a lot of him play or noticed a lot of game time. But we've got to have these. We've got to build the squad, don't we, moving forward for a bit of backup and depth and things like that. So. Until we see otherwise, I think it's pretty good.
All right. Well, Jardian, you got any thoughts on that, or should we move on to Xmas?
No, my only thoughts on this one, Sam, was really that when I tend not to know a lot about a person, I will often go to see what the fan base says from the team that he's departing, and generally get a bit of a sense of what you're getting from the sentiment of fans. And looking at the Parramatta, I guess, sentiment, there was a little bit of no big loss from there, but also there were some who were definitely like, oh, this is going to be a bit of a problem for us, and that is exciting.
I think at this stage it's a good signing, so building towards the future. He's 22, so we're gonna have a nice youngish squad in 2023, which is a good thing moving forward. We're here to celebrate Sharkmas. Boys, I've done a list, as you can see in front of you. I don't know about the order, but we're going to start with Cameron's wish. And Cameron, I'm just going to be a spoiler and just say the headline, and you can move forward if you like. But Cam would like us, and I'm sure we all agree, to win the first game of the season.
Yeah, Sam, I think that we're already excited about next year. And, I had the benefit of going to the fan day just a couple of weeks ago or thereabouts, and looked at, everyone's pretty excited about it. We're going to get pretty pumped over the off season, and I just want to have that momentum going into the season just to get that first win under our belt. I would trade. I would sort of live with a loss to have a win at the first home game, but I just want to start the season with a win. And I think that that's something that'll give us and the fans a bit of momentum going into that first home game as well. I just hope we can do that. That's my first wish, Sam. We want to win that first game of the season.
Yeah, so we don't do it very often. Since 2010, we've won 2 games, and that's as bad as Manly, both the worst in the comp. That was in 2013 against the Titans, and this year, surprisingly, I'd forgotten about it. We beat the Dastardly Dragons. So I can't say the last time we did it 2 years in a row, Cam. But let's go for this year. It's important though, guys, right? To start the year. We don't want to be deflated in that first week after round 1 at full time.
Well, the only thing I would say is that we finally win a game first round this year, and we didn't make the 8 for the first time in about 8 years. So maybe we shouldn't. And then, like Cam said, just get the first win at home in round 2. I think it is against Eels or Tigers.
But we could probably win both, right?
I think we can win most games, to be honest. But
not too much to ask for.
The expectation is high already. Like, people are already talking. Gal came out and said top 4 finish is what he expects. So
we'll get to
we
that.
need to get the monkey off the back early, I think. And starting with a win would be perfect. We have a pretty good record down there in Canberra, so shouldn't be too hard a trip. I mean, the boys are preparing pretty well. I've been down there at preseason, obviously, and everything's looking really good. And I think we can do it. I think we can go 2-0 to start the season.
Well, I was going to say, Gary, what's the difference for you as a club employee between round one loss, round one win? Is there much difference to what goes on down there?
No one panics or does anything like that. Like, they just sort of iron out the cobwebs and move on to the next week as they should. But I mean, obviously everyone wants to win that first round and get some momentum heading into the season. And, you know, I think we have the squad to do it. And if all goes well and everything that I'm seeing in preseason comes to fruition, I think we'll have a really good start to the year. And I'm just interested to see the makeup of the squad come round one, to be honest.
The key is to stay COVID free. The Raiders' whole squad's got it. So,
yikes.
We wish them all the best. Jars, what are you thinking?
It's I can't even remember the last time when we came out on fire into the season. And it's a great wish. I think it's a good place for us to start. I think Cam's nailed it. If we could get those first couple underneath the belt, it'll probably settle the nerves a little as well, because the longer the club goes with Fitz in there as first year coach, the longer we go without winning, you know, it kind of incrementally gets worse and the pressure gets more and more. So if you can get that first win off your back early, can make the world of difference for your season towards the back end of it all. So I like it. It's a great wish. Make it happen.
All right. We're going to stick with Cam for now. Do you want to tell everyone what your second wish is? Which, again, I think everyone is in agreement, but it's your idea. What do you think about the second idea? You want to just go for it?
Look, I reckon it'd be great to have a fitting farewell for Andrew Fifita. And I don't know how exactly I want this to play out, but I think it'd be nice to sort of cap his time at the club, and whether that's plenty of game time or a special event at a home game or just some kind of acknowledgement of the contribution he's made to the club. And I think that, I'd love him to play a big part in this upcoming season, but I just want him. I just want there to be a fitting farewell for Andy. So, Sam, however you can make that happen, that'd be great.
Oh, I think there's someone else, a couple of guys here who could help us with that. I mean, just looking at some of his numbers, 190 matches for the Sharks, a little bit more for the West Tigers. He's our 10th most capped Shark, which it makes perfect sense, but I didn't really realize that. 10th most games for Cronulla. He was the 2013-2018 Dalian Prop of the Year. He obviously won us a title. We've had some good props of the club over 50 years, but he's the best, and that's a big deal. And you're right, Cam. We should definitely celebrate him, and whatever that means. I guess we won't know for a while about where he's going to stand within the top 30. But absolutely, this guy needs to be celebrated. I mean, Jards, you're a mate of his. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'd love to see a celebration. I think it's a really good shout. And I'm sure he would love to have a celebration too. I have to very quickly ask, because this is a group of very strong, collective, great minds here. And I need to ask, because I know what my answer to this question is, but I need to know what everyone else's answer is. Let's say that Andrew retires at the end of next season, which I have no inside information about whether it will or won't happen, just to be clear. But let's say he does retire at the end of next season. Where do you gentlemen think he ranks in the all-time club props? Because if I recall correctly, I believe he was on the bench at the 50-year team. He was named on the interchange bench. And I'm curious to know if anyone else, what everyone thinks and where he might sit by the end of his career in terms of his club folklore.
Well, for me, I'm semi-young still, and so I would probably say that my knowledge of props and players is probably not as extensive as you guys. But for me, my time watching
it's a career,
the Sharks, that's a life. He's the best without a doubt. I mean, there was probably a 2 or 3 year period there where he was untouchable in terms of props getting near him. He created a new style that we haven't seen before. So athletic, quick, strong, had an offload, could pass, break the line, that try against the Tigers in, like, I think it was 2013 or 14, when he ran 60 meters, stepped the ball back and did the lawnmower celebration. Like, we haven't seen anything like that in the NRL ever, let alone at Cronulla. So I guess, without a doubt, the best prop that's ever put on the jersey for us, for sure.
I like it, Josh. I like it. What do you think, Gaz?
I'm with Josh as well. Obviously, we're the two young fellas in the group. So
Come on, guys.
I know what Jard's mentioned before about the team of the half century. I think, Shinazzi, you should probably know better than me. Was it Cliff Watson? And
He would have definitely been there. Yeah.
And Dane Sorensen.
Dane Sorensen. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So it's like, obviously we've had some good guys coming through, but for us at our age, it's like there was no one better than Andrew Fifita. And I'm probably a bit biased, obviously getting to, speak to him a bit more than other people and know the Andrew off the field. And I just think he's up there with the greatest Sharks to pull on the jersey. So I don't want to see him leave the club, to be honest.
What do you reckon, Cam?
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that it's just, I think that the affection for him as well has kind of grown amongst a lot of Sharks fans since 2016. And I think we love, we love our players to kind of get through a challenge and get successful. And so just to cap that in 2022 would be really great way to say farewell. And as much as we wish him the best in that season, as well as the club doing the best by him, I reckon that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, as far as is he the best prop, Jards, he's if we're saying the other two chaps are the best, he's got to be on par now with them. He's not behind them. And how you see who's the best, I mean, he won a title, they didn't, for starters. That's not their fault. They both would have played more international football, I think. Hard to compare different generations, of course, but I was thinking before, Josh was saying how we haven't seen anyone like him at the club. And I was thinking the same thing. This guy comes in with all this swagger and attitude for a very young guy, but he backs it up on the field. And some of that athleticism he's displayed in his career is, I guess, what they say, like Arthur Beetson, but probably modernized and even on top of that. So I think he's the best prop. I'm going to say that, Jards. But again, I saw a bit of Sorensen. I didn't see much of Cliff aside from videos. But for me, yeah, I'd say he's the best prop we got, given the length of his career too.
He really was a player, I think, when we look back at his career now that it looks like it's getting towards the twilight stage of his career, and we look back, he really was a player ahead of his time. I mean, if you were to take prime Andrew Fifita and put him in today's rules with the tackle restarts and all of that, he would probably be the most sought after player in the game, I would think. If you take that version of him and stick him in today's game, and maybe in ways that we do or don't recognize, maybe his style of play influenced the rule changes. Just an absolute specimen back in the day. So needless to say, looping back to Cam's thoughts, if this is the last year, it would be fantastic for us to know about it so that we can throw a big farewell at Shark Park. Thank goodness we'd be doing it back at home.
Yeah. Well, they'll make the call either way. Either way, he'll either move on or he won't. Like, that'll be known probably by mid-year, you'd think. So Gary and his mates can start working on that party if that's the way it goes. But yeah, definitely a great one from Cam. And we're just going to keep going order, boys. Let's stick with another Cam Webb moment of genius. And I've added a little bit to what he thought, Cam, but I've got Cameron wants 100% effort, no lazy, quick to give up defensive efforts. Then I've added win when trailing at halftime, of which we were 9-10 last year, and don't concede in the final 10 minutes, of which we did in 9 matches last season. So as far as Cam saying lazy efforts in defense, we missed the second most tackles last year, which was 35 per game. And we conceded the third most offloads at 11 per game. So obviously new coaches coming in to change all that up. But what do you think, boys? I mean, obviously it's got to improve to be a success.
Defense will 100% improve, Shinaz. Just watching the amount of work that the boys are putting in and that Fitzy and Pricey and all those guys are putting into defense, something has to change, and I have full confidence that we'll be a much better defensive side in 2022.
Yeah, I reckon that's something we're all looking forward to. And I think with that, when I kind of gave Sam that wish, I think it's as much about the success, the toughness of defense, but it's just that effort. There's nothing worse than seeing your team kind of shrug their shoulders when the guy runs past, or and that happened a couple of times last year. And I know that kind of really grates with me. I know that maybe I'm not putting in 100% effort all the time at work, and I just get a bit slacking off as well. And so we can forgive them maybe, but that's the kind of thing in defense. That slackness in defense is kind of really something that really grates with me, I reckon. I look forward to it turning around.
You reckon, Josh?
I guess those stats as well, you said second most missed tackles and third most offloads conceded, they go hand in hand, don't they? Like
they can, yeah.
The more offloads you're conceding, the more tackles you have to make. Therefore, the more tired you get, the more tackles you're going to miss. So you clean up one, you kind of clean up the other. I know that doesn't always correlate, but a lot of the times it does. You're going to make that extra effort. You're making 7 to 8 tackles in a set because you're conceding more possession. So, I think just cleaning up those just on their own is going to help a lot, because offloads in this modern age are killers. And I don't know how many times, like last year, you just fourth tackle and they're on the 40-meter line, we're feeling okay, and then offload, there's an extra 10 meters there. Oh gosh, like it just happened so much last year, and that's a really pet peeve of mine. And we didn't offload much ourselves, so we didn't create opportunities for ourselves.
Now, Cam, I'm going to give you up here. In your notes, you said, noting the main culprit may have moved on already. Does this gentleman have the initials SJ, or am I way off?
No, actually, it's somebody else I was thinking about.
CT.
Sam.
AW.
Well, someone help me.
Yeah, I think young Aaron was kind of a bit guilty of that a few times, and I think again, I feel a bit unkind, kind of singling out anybody in particular, but yeah, they're the memories that stick in my mind from some of those games. And I know, Sam, we've talked about this before, and for some players, it's the lumbering forward in attack as much as the laziness in defence that was annoying. But again, let's keep things positive, and I'm sure that what we've talked about today was pretty positive for next year.
Sometimes those two things were the one player, the lumbering forward and the missed tackles and running after.
Very, very much, Sam.
Okay, so Gary's confirmed that they're going to be better next year with what he's seen already at training. And is it true, Gary, they've stripped the defense right back to learning how to do it all over again? Is that true?
In a nutshell, yes, but
yeah,
obviously there's a bit more to it than that. But
yeah,
we spoke about many times last year the culture that Fitzy's going to bring to the club, and already the amount of change that we've seen within the playing group, within the staff, within everyone around the organization, it's just been great. And you can see that the guys are going out there for one another. And a lot of times last year, we kind of saw these selfish efforts. I'm just going to call it what it was. And, people would just drop off and do what was best for them and not what was best for the team. And I think this year you'll see a lot of guys. You've got Cam McInnes there, Dale Finucane, all these guys who are coming from really good clubs, really good culture, and they work hard for one another. And even just the way they chat at training, the way they put in effort at training, you can just see that they're going to be working hard for each other. They're going to be selfless, and it's going to be a really good team effort. And yeah, stripping it back to the basics, as you said, is kind of what they've done. And the structures that are in place now are looking really good, and I'm really excited about it.
Can I ask you, Gary, is, for example, Cam McInnes and Dale Finucane in particular, are they big talkers at training, or is it more just do what we do kind of thing?
Not so much big talkers, but they go with 110% effort on every single skill and drill that Fitzy puts to them. So just watching them lifts you sitting in the office. I just want to work harder in the office. It's like crazy. It's absolutely crazy what those guys do. Cam McInnes is a beast, and Dale Finucane, as the rumors have suggested, goes 110% on every single thing that he does.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so good. Gary, while we're with you, we're going to go with the fourth wish of Christmas this year. And I'm with you on this one. And I'm sure everyone else is, but you and I thinking on a similar path. And that is that we want a breakout year from Franklin Pele. Now, last year he played 15 minutes only in a round 12 match in Coffs Harbour against the Titans. He played 5 games for the Jets. He just turned 21 years of age. As most of us have seen in real life this year, this postseason he's looking a bit slimmer and a bit fitter already. More to come. But Gary, tell us what you think about Pele and what's going to happen. And
yeah, Frankie coming back for preseason this year, he just came back looking so focused and so ready to rip in. And as you said, he's trimmed down a bit. He's got a bit of agility going on, and there's just been some times throughout this preseason where he's just running some great lines, hitting them with speed. He's sort of, really imposing himself on the other guys, and having guys like Cam McInnes and Dale Finucane around him, as we spoke about before. And then that healthy competition with, Ueli, you've got Royce Hunt coming back from injury. Like, those guys are all pushing for spots. And I think that's really driven Frankie. And I just am really keen to see him have a breakout year, because I think he can be one of the most damaging props in the game if he gets a go on. And obviously minutes is going to be the big thing for him, and fitness. But from everything we're seeing at the moment, he's on the right track. And I think it's this year he's playing for a contract as well. This could be his last year that he's signed with us. So
right.
This could be the year we see big Frankie break out. And that's my my wish with you for this Sharksmas.
What do you think, boys?
He looked phenomenal at the Members Day. He all the rumors about him really coming into camp in shape and really lean. Again, we've spoken about Andrew at the top of the meeting, but he reminded me of West Tigers' version of young Andrew Fifita, which was someone who looked like he could absolutely mow right down the middle of the park, but not lumbering.
No.
So I'm pretty excited as well for what's there. I think it's a great shout, guys.
And I know it's different to, like, last year you saw him in, New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flag, and he absolutely shreds there. But I know it's different come NRL, but if he can just replicate some of that form heading into the NRL, and with this newfound fitness and agility, I think, as we said, he's on track for a good year.
Yeah, it's just going to be a matter of when he gets his chance, and that might be through injury, might be through form. But he's got the goods, that's for sure. And he's 21, boys. 21.
He's so young.
He's got so much growing to do. Cam, did you meet him at the meet and greet the other week?
Yeah, I did get a chance to talk to him, actually. He's a really nice guy, really generous, and with his time, friendly, and looked super fit and ready to go as well. So, I reckon this is a great wish. And, I hope that he has a really great season, and hopefully that parlays that into a long and successful career with the Sharks too.
What do you reckon, Josh?
I probably haven't seen as much of him as everyone else has, but it's just going off being silly. Like, he's just got the right name for like a really successful player. Do you know what I mean? It's just like Franklin Pele. It's like, yes, that's a sports star's name, So like, that's basing it off, like, obviously his 15 minutes. He actually was pretty good in first grade, but I don't know, if you can give him 10 games now, like progress that to 15 next year, then, consistent bench spots, just about the progression for these kind of guys.
Yeah, I was going to say I like what they've done with him, even though I wanted more time out of him last season. I like the way the Sharks have kind of held off a little bit. There was a lot of hype preseason, particularly from this podcast, but also from the mainstream press. And he had an injury. When was that, Gary? About 5 weeks out from the season ending?
Yeah, something like that. And he had to go for surgery, and obviously that cut his New South Wales Cup time short. But it's all fixed up. They're slowly working him back, but
I sort of got the feeling he might have had another shot in first grade if he didn't get injured. So I do like the way they've done it slowly. So hopefully this year, as Josh said, just ease him back into it, maybe get 10 games and see what he can do. But we're all behind Franklin Pele, that's for sure. Now, the next wish. Gaz and Shinazzi have put this one forward. We want round 2 against the Parramatta Eels at Shark Park, PointsBet Stadium. We want it to be a sold-out affair. Now, it should be. It's limited capacity. It's first game back. It's first home game. It should be sold out very soon. But is it going to be sold out, Gary? You're the closest one working there. Is it going to be sold out?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm just going to claim it now. I think everyone should get down there, because
it would have to be.
What's better than a packed PointsBet Stadium? Like, I cannot wait to be back there. Obviously, it's not round one, but round two after a win down in Canberra, it's going to be absolutely rocking, and I cannot wait to get back there and back at home.
So we won 8 out of 12 in 2019 under Bomber, which is still pretty good, 8 out of 12. And I was going to also add to that, fellas, my wish is they win every home game, in all seriousness. So I'm adding to the wish. So we want to have a sold out home game round two. I want to win every home game. I think it's realistic. I really do. I mean, particularly if the team gels sooner rather than later, why not?
Do you have the draw handy? What's our hardest games at home?
Oh, Josh, stop asking hard questions. We play Melbourne, do we? I don't know. I'm making
I think
that up.
We
I
play
think we
Melbourne
have
at home, yeah, but that's when Origin's on as well. So
Okay.
obviously we might be missing Nico and Dale and a few guys, but you know, the
I
Storm should have a
I
few out
just
as
think
well.
that if you're a good to great team, you should be winning your home games. I know you play the best, you know, if Penrith come here or whoever, I get that you play the best still, but it's your home ground. You win all those games, you're there, you're in the finals. So
yeah,
I hope they do. I hope they can do it.
I believe.
Good. Hope the players believe. Jardian, am I being outrageous or what?
Nope. I'm all in.
Yeah. No lecture. Shinazzi,
lecture.
don't
No,
get too excited.
no lectures, no disagreements.
Get excited, man.
My banter will come later in the episode.
Yeah, I bet.
Don't worry, Sam.
I bet. Okay. Cam, do you think we can win every game, or is that too big a ask?
Yes, I'm worried about the game against the Seagulls as usual, but apart from that, I reckon we can.
Yeah, right. Seagulls. Yeah, that's a fair call. We'll see where that one goes, but I don't know. I don't think it's that big an ask. I think that as players, you'd be aiming to win every home game for lots of different reasons. That's what gave me the idea.
But as you mentioned, Shinazzi, it's like if we gel, like that Seagulls game, I think is maybe round 7. So it's early on in the season, and it all comes down to how we sort of click in those first few rounds. And
it does.
I think if we can settle on positions for everyone and hopefully not too much chopping and changing, I think once it rolls around to round 7 at home, I think it might be a Thursday night game though. So
I guess
make sure everyone's down there.
Part of my thought is it's easier to win at Shark Park than it is at Brookvale. Surely. I know against Manly, it's an interesting subject anyway, but it also is good for people like you, Gary, who work there. It's easier to sell tickets if you make it like 2016 where you're winning. I mean, they're winning every week anyway, but you're always winning at home. It's a bit of a party atmosphere, and that's what I want to feel again. So, but we've got a very serious subject here now. Okay, we're going down in order, and it's been raised by Gary, by me, by Jardian, and by a guest host who can't be here tonight. He had a fight last night. His name's Paul Gallen. We want a top 4 finish. And I'm going to take this one further, harking back to last year's Christmas episode. I want to take top 4 into Titletown. Now, I know that's a lot to ask, but let's start with top 4 finish. Gallen's already put it out there, which I don't want to upset the guy, but it's a very unfair thing to say right now. What do you think, fellas? Is there any chance that we can finish top 4?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the comp's still it's about to be really competitive again, but I think it's about a year away. So I think it's still in this phase that there's about 3 to 5 good teams. And I think we can be in that 3 to 5 good teams. When you look across, if you look at that ladder, honestly, we beat most teams with this team on paper. And already, I know it's probably crazy to think, I would beat probably 12 of those teams easy or relatively easy. It's just your typical Rooster Storm, your Panthers and your Manleys that'll be tough. The rest are all very winnable. And you snag a couple of those against this top 4, we'll make it. It's not that hard.
All right. What do you reckon, Cam?
Yeah, with a bit of luck, Sam, I reckon we can do it. I think it's that top, 5 or 6 teams is going to come down to a bit of luck of injuries and things like that. But there's no reason why we can't do it, Sam. aspire to greatness, but but being realistic at the same time.
Yes, and I'm assuming that there is not one injury and we win every home game. I'm putting every best case forward to say top 4 and then the other business we might get to. But Gary, I'm sure that the team is aspiring for the finals and higher. What do you think? Is it too big an ask, top 4 at the moment?
I don't think so. You and I spoke maybe 2-3 weeks ago about this, and we both said around top 6 we thought we'd finish. And what's 2 spots in the top 6? It's just a couple of games. And, we play Melbourne down in Melbourne on Easter, and I think that'll be a hard one. Coming back, Josh mentioned the Roosters. I think Fitzy's probably got a bit of inside knowledge there where to beat them and how to beat them. So that's probably not maybe as tough as it has been the last few years. And if we can just knock over 1 or 2 of those games, it'll go a long way to getting us up there within the top 4. But yeah, I think top 6, top 4 is definitely realistic. So I'm all in.
All right. Now, a man who has a lot of opinions about what will a successful season look like is the only person repping the club tonight in colours. No, Josh is as well. Jardian, what do you think?
Okay. So hear me out, people. Hear me out.
All right.
Put the pitchforks away for everyone who's listening. But here are my thoughts on this. Can the team make the top 4? Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Should the team make the top 4? Yes, absolutely.
Great.
Will the team make the top 4? I don't know. There's a lot that kind of still needs to happen. I think if we were to base the top 4 solely on the rosters and the playing squad, we've got a top 4 roster, and we definitely have a top 4 playing squad. But sometimes these things can take time, right? The 2016 Premiership team didn't come together in 2016. It came together a little earlier than that. And sometimes when I think about the transition that needs to happen for us to get to the promised land, to get to Title Town, as you call it, Shinazzi, sometimes I wonder if there's maybe a season or 2 that you need to pay your dues, that you need to learn a little bit about the guy inside and outside of you. And whilst I'm very excited about Nico signing and having him in the halves, do I know for a fact that he's going to be lights out from day one, which is kind of what you need your halves to be if you're going to be a top 4 team? I'm not sure. I think that could take a little bit of time too. That's not to say that I doubt it happening. I'm just saying that if I had to bet money or my house on the Sharks making the top 4, I would abstain from that one yet. But top 6, we better make the top 6.
Right.
Absolutely. So it's not all doom and gloom. I'm still in on a very strong season. I'm just not sure that in year 1 of Fitz, it's a top 4 season.
I guess when I mentioned Title Town, which is actually a term you brought to the podcast last year, Jardian, I'm not saying we're going to win it. I'm saying I want to be in that conversation. I want to be on a train heading towards Title Town. So I don't think...
In that case, Sam, yeah, I'm with you. We definitely should be in every conversation related to the Premiership.
And that conversation may not start until round 20. I'm not saying in round 4 they should be saying it, but again, injuries, learning new techniques, who knows what's going to happen. But it's a bit of fun. This episode's a bit of fun, and I think I'd rather head to Title Town than anywhere else. And that's why 3 of us have raised the top 4 at least. Oh, and Paul Gallen as well. Did you guys watch the fight last night?
Yeah.
Yep.
Enough said.
Yeah. A lot of holding.
I'm glad I didn't pay for it. I don't know if I should say that publicly.
That's fine.
It is what it is. I'm glad he made some money. Good on you, gals.
Yeah. He's doing all right. He's a fit little bugger, isn't he?
He looked unbelievable.
Yeah.
What is he, 40? I hope I look like that on 40.
Did you guys read an article? Where was it? I think it was on the Telly's new sport website. And they're talking about how, I think it was last year, because he couldn't train with the Sharks or help the Sharks out coaching-wise because of COVID, he was volunteering driving fruit around for someone he knew for free, loading up his car with fruit and delivering it so he could stay busy and not sit around and twiddle his thumbs. He's just some sort of person that needs to be on the go the whole time. But it says a lot about his work ethic.
I tweeted about that last night, actually, about Gal, just like his work ethic and he, as a person, like people can think what they want about him as a player, but as a person, incredible. They're like he donated the jackpot like knockout thing last night. He gave half of it to two of the fighters last night. He like it was 20 grand or something. I think he gave him 5 each or something. Like, just a good guy. Yeah, I know he's had his things in the past, but I mean, it's a long time ago now. It's the 15 years ago. People change and people mature. He's a hell of a guy.
Hey, we like him on this podcast, Josh. So I'm not sure what number wish we're up to, but we're going to keep going. And this one, this one will get my co-host chatting probably more than me, which is absolutely the whole point of this show. And I'm just going to go through a list of things that Cameron, Jardian, and Gary have mentioned. I'm going to throw in Clinton as well. And it's not to say I don't agree with it or anything, but this is your push. Okay, boys? So you're ready. In no particular order. Return to the GOAT logo. So the greatest of all time logo. One of you wants, well, all of you want a brand refresh. One of you in particular wants a return of the Clean Away branded retro jersey. So whoever wants to take this up, start the conversation, please.
Gaz, I feel like you should take this up first.
I knew that one would come straight back to me. we spoke about this, Shards, when you were in at the club doing some work for us, and I've been pushing for this for the last few months, actually. And it's not that I think our brand is weak or there's anything wrong with our brand, but I think we're at a point now where we're about to have a state-of-the-art leagues club built right at the stadium. We're pushing to get things changed there, and we're going to have a facility and a space that's going to be state-of-the-art, top level. And I think we need to get a brand that matches that. And I think our brand is starting to hit the point where it's a bit dated, maybe. There's a few things that I'd like to change with it, i.e. bringing back the GOAT logo. And I think that now's the perfect time to do it. And if we can get something sorted, which I've got things going on in the background that hopefully one day might spark a bit of change, but I just think now's the perfect time, really.
Jardian, what's the GOAT logo for everyone who doesn't know what the GOAT logo is?
So for those who can't see, which is basically everyone, I guess, this is the 88 logo that I'm wearing right now. Okay. It's the circle logo with the forward prop shark, I guess. A bit bigger than the current shark that we have. We've got a fullback shark at the moment, nice and lean there. But they say, Sam, that the best logos in the world, from a marketing perspective, are ones that a person can draw on a sheet of paper very, very easily. Nike, for example, Adidas. These are things that you can just pick up a pencil, sketch it on a piece of paper, and get pretty close to it. I like our current logo for what I guess 2016 means, but man, if you ever try to draw that thing, that's hard. It's really hard to do. Whereas this logo, I feel like, is one of the ones that could be drawn. I actually think the easiest logo to draw would probably be the Dallas Cowboys Sharks logo. That's probably the easiest one to draw because you kind of just draw a star.
Hang on, you've lost me. You've lost me. What's the Dallas Cowboys? What?
It's the star logo that we used, I guess. Fresh out of the Super League. So that was probably the easiest draw. But I think it's time to bring back what is basically a classic. Cam, back me up on this one.
I'm all in on that. I reckon we need to bring that back, and that's I reckon that'd be fantastic. And I think there's this is a pretty common conversation among Sharks fans as well. I think we're kind of keen for it as well, and I think I'm all on board. All on board. Who do I address the letter to?
The guy sitting next to you on the screen. Question for you, Cameron. You've got a teenage. Cam, you've got a teenager in your house who goes for the Sharks quite passionately. What would you say to her when she says, Dad, I don't really care about the old logo. It means nothing to me.
Yeah, look, that's a good question, and I think that
Sorry, my point is, all of us are going. Let's go back to the old days, and yeah.
So I think for her, so to put it into context, so my daughter is becoming incredibly passionate about the Sharks, loves the NRL, had an absolute fantastic best day ever at the Members Day the other week. And I think for her, I don't know if she really minds too much. It's a Sharks logo. For her, she's all in. She's all in. It doesn't really matter. But how are you gonna? We're not gonna make everybody happy. There's probably people out there who don't like that logo that we all love. We all love now. Maybe people want to go back to that classic cartoon kind of logo or something. I don't know, Sam, but I just think the simplicity, as Jard said, is that's the thing that's sort of pretty timeless about it. That's why I love it so much, and I think that it and I think that can come back without people necessarily saying, "Oh, that's a retro logo."
Yeah, I mean, you look at when like the Bulldogs brought back their old Bulldog logo a few years ago, and everyone went, "Whoa, that's really cool!" Like, and that's what some people are going to say when we bring back the Shark. But I should point out that none of us dislike the current one. It's just maybe we think that it's time for a change. Josh, have you got feelings like these passionate men about the logo?
Well, I mean, it was around before I was born, so I don't really have that connection,
Sure.
I guess, as much as you guys might. I mean, I like it. I think it's cool. And I have my retro jersey that I wear to most games, and it's that symbol. It's the 88.
Do you have a favorite logo?
I like our one, but I grew up with that. So I guess that's probably why I do like, and we won a grand final in it. So
you don't have to justify it.
Yeah. But I guess, I don't know, like I could go any way, really. I could keep this one. I could modernize the 88 one if we were going to. Out of any of the old retro ones, it would be that, or we go a new one.
What Josh just said there is key for me, though. Obviously, we're not going to go back to that exact logo. I think it's a modernizing of that to bring it into 2022 would be ideal, and I think that now's the perfect time to do it.
Okay.
Just privately, just quietly, Josh saying that the current logo is the only logo that he's ever known is the most millennial flex that I've heard this week.
I mean, technically I had that really ugly little one, but I was still kind of earning my shark stripes.
Yeah, got it. So good.
What was the ugly little one? Someone help me out.
2002, the Anderson era one, the white one.
Okay. Yeah.
That white with the light blue that was aqua blue. Gross.
Okay. And Cameron, I'm going to give you up. He wants the return of the Cleanaway branded retro jersey. Gary, any chance that's going to happen?
No. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
No, that's okay. It's no, look, it's an incredibly selfish wish of mine anyway, but that's just because, as a young Sharks fan, I think that was the jersey when I started collecting the footy cards and stuff like that. So just and also you don't, you see them from time to time, but they are probably one of the most scarce kind of jerseys around. I don't see too many of them. So I think that kind of just adds to the mystique a little bit. So, okay, it's back to eBay again, I suppose.
All right. Now we're going to go on to the next wish, and that is from Jardian exclusively for the moment. We can all chime in. And Jardian wants Ronaldo to stay on the wing where he scored 27 tries in 40 games. And I've pointed out to all of you, especially myself, he's still aged 22 years young. Jardian, take the floor, my friend.
Okay. So I guess this wish came about because there were rumors swirling, right, that he might be pushed further in field, which I'm not opposed to because he's the type of player that I think could make that change very easily. This wish has very little to do with his ability to shift into the centers and more to do with what you give up on the wing by making that move. I've asked in the last couple of years, because this has always been interesting to me as we kind of look at the way that the games are changing. But in the last couple of years, I must have asked, a handful, maybe 5 or 6 different NRL head coaches or assistant coaches, what they would prefer to have: a very, very good center with an average winger, or an average center with a very, very good winger. And it's been interesting because as the game begins to change, the skill sets of the wingers are starting to kind of be the difference makers in certain games, right? The blokes that can put the ball down under pressure, under duress, can sometimes be the difference between walking out of a game with 2 points and walking out of a game with none. And what Ronaldo and Katoa both bring as, specialists on the wing is pretty special. I mean, when I think about the different combos that we've had over the years, there've been some great ones. I think of, when I think of our greatest wingers that we've ever had, I mean, Matt Rogers comes to mind, Val Holmes comes to mind. And I think maybe when I study Val, he's my litmus test for, what happens sometimes when you bring a very talented winger out of position. And McInnes has spoken about this as well on Fox League on the broadcast a couple of times, that, no one, I guess, a lot of footy players will tell you that no one ever really wants to stay on the wing their whole career. I guess players are aware that as you get a little bit older, the body slows down a little bit, speed being a pretty key component, unless you're Luke Cavell, to, being successful out there on the wing. But, even from a statistical perspective, right? I mean, the greatest try scorers that we've had in club history, I think of Matt Rogers and Tasaya Fegi. I think it's 75 and 67 tries a piece. I mean, these were people who were specialists, but I mean, Feki in particular was a very, very good finisher, but even he only had 23 tries after his first 3 seasons, 40 games at the club. And Ronaldo's ahead of that right now. So, I am not opposed to, and again, these were just rumors. No one actually knows what's going on. And it's quite possible the intention is for him to play on the wing. I'm just saying that, I would love to see him play on the wing all season as well, because that skill set, I think, is becoming more and more important. And gone are the days where you just take your, I guess, slowest, well, not slowest, but your most ordinary player on your team, and you stick them out on the wing and you just kind of let them survive there. Those days are over. I mean, we need wingers. All teams need wingers who are bona fide studs in that last quarter. And he's just that to me. So that's my wish. Keep him there.
What do we think that he's going to bring to the centers if he moves to the centers? Because it's got to be as good as what he does, if not better on the wing, right? So what's he going to provide in the centers?
Well, his defense, his actual tackling ability is very good, but it's his reading that has let him down a little bit on the wing. So he would have less to think about, I guess, in terms of defense, which would be good for him. And he's a strong guy. Like, I don't think it matters too much. His game won't change too much in terms of attacking. Like, he's a strong ball runner. He's big, he's tall, he can outleap most guys. But I will say I've probably agree with Jards. I know the big consensus is that he should go to the centers and that he's been training there all summer. I actually really like him on the wing. And I think he gives us a lot of impact through his returns off the back fence. That we get a lot out of him there. He's probably one of the better ones in the NRL.
Is he gonna feed the ball to his winger, do we think?
I actually think he's got a pretty good skill set all around as a footballer. I think he's just a genuinely pretty good footballer, and I think he could do it. But I just like him there. Maybe one more year. I think eventually he'll end up in the centers, but I think there's no rush. And what we get out of him being on the wing, like Jared said, is better than what we'll probably get out of him being a center and having a weaker winger, unless it's Ikabalu, who we don't know how he's going to perform. But
that's
a lot of people saying he's killing it.
That's who it would have to.
And we get a lot of meters out of him too. So
now, Gary Dover, you know what's going on. Speak.
I can't. No, I will speak. Look, for me,
say what you can say.
You look back to 2016, right? And you've got Ricky Latelli, Feki, Val, all those guys on the first 3 tackles of every set would get us off to one of the best starts that you could possibly have. And they would just be hard running, straight hit ups. The only people who really do that for us is Ronaldo of those back 3. Like Will Kennedy, he runs hard, but he's not, breaking too many tackles. He has gotten bigger, to be fair, this year, and I'm really excited to see him play. And Sione, he dances around a bit and tries to evade defenders and things like that. For me, Ronaldo is one of those guys that we need back in those back 3 to get our set started. And we spoke earlier about people talking, on the field and off the field at training. And Ronaldo's one of the best talkers in the team, and he revs people up from wherever he is. And I think having him out on the wing to get our set started and to speak the way that he does to people inside him, we need him on the wing. And I think that's where he'll stay.
So that's your preference.
That's my preference, definitely.
All right. Cam, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got to be on the same page there. I reckon I'd like to see him stay on the wing as well. And I don't even have the professional insights of my colleagues here. So, I think we all sound like we're pretty on board with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the centers can work. He's played there at a junior level, and he'd be tough to stop, with an offload and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They did buy Cavallo for some reason, and yes, it's depth, but it seemed like a pretty specific purchase.
Yeah, it could be, Sam. And it looks like it probably is. Maybe it's a depth in case it doesn't work out in the centers for Ronaldo. Maybe the plan is to push him in there. But like Gaz said before, I mean, he brought out Val's name, and I mentioned Val at the top of this part as well. I mean, Val was one of the greatest wingers that we've ever had at this club, but he didn't want to play on the wing for the rest of his career. And when he moved to fullback, he was still good, but he wasn't a better fullback than he was a winger. And I felt as though the team's, efforts in that last part when they were trying to score some really crucial tries, it kind of suffered because he wasn't out there. Now, that's not to say that we hold people hostage and make them stick on the wing if they don't want to, but it's just that kind of X's and O's perspective, right? Like he brings things to the wing that I think we're going to need in the title run. And if we're talking title town, let's keep him there for a little bit longer.
Okay. We missed it big time with his meters as well when he was out in that middle period of the season. And when he came back, you just saw the difference. He just brings so much energy.
Yeah.
Going off this conversation, who's everyone's centers? Like, obviously Jesse's locked in for one, but who does everyone see as their second center?
I really want Connor to work.
Yeah, I agree, Josh. But I think this is the reason why we're having this discussion, because we don't have somebody else to fit in the centers there, isn't it? And we sign another winger on the off season, so we start talking about where everybody's moving around. But I'm with Josh. I was really impressed with him, this season past, and I'd like to see him make that spot his own. But yeah, Kendi, what do you guys think?
I think if he can get his defense correct, which under Fitzgibbon, I think he can. I think that he showed enough last year to go for it. He's a very different center. He's a pretty small guy comparatively, but he uses his pace really well. He can finish tries, and I mean, it's hard to be critical of a guy like him. He just gives you everything he's got. So wherever he pops up, he's going to be pretty handy.
Yeah.
I do wonder, Gary, if you can help me out. Is there any kids coming through who might be close to ready, or are we still sort of half a year away from that kind of thing?
Yeah, guys like Jensen, Talmapea, he's probably up there. He's been training in the centers and playing in the centers in the lower grades for a long time, and we signed him as a center. He's good, but another name I'm going to throw out there, which is a bit of a curly one, is Lockie Miller.
Oh,
and we obviously signed Lockie Miller from Rugby Australia. He was playing sevens, and the way he trains and plays, and he reminds me a bit of a Tony Staggs type guy, little stocky dude, lots of speed, lots of strength, and he could be one that ends up in the centers or something like that. So he's one I'm excited about, actually.
Can he tackle?
He can defend. Yeah, he can, and he's so quick on his feet.
Wow.
He's someone I want to see in the trials. I really want to see him in NRL setup.
He was, one of my wishes was actually going to be a Lockie Miller debut, but then I thought, no, that's so unrealistic. But I think if he can work his way into the Jet side and have a good season there, like, we'll see his potential, and it's really exciting what he can do with the football.
Is he far away? Is he that far away from NRL standard?
I don't think so. Like, obviously he grew up playing NRL and made the switch to rugby and rugby sevens, and now he's come back wanting to make it in the NRL. And I think he's got all the skill set, the body shape, the speed, the agility, all that stuff. And his ball playing is great. He's got a little kick on him, a little grubber. So
what's he like at training? Is he intense? Is he?
Yeah, you can tell he's been around a national side, and he knows what standard he needs to train at, and he always trains to that standard. And I think he's another guy that's leading with his actions as opposed to his words. And I'm just, he's one that really excites me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there, whether it's in the trials or, for the Jets in 2022. But keep an eye on Lockie Miller.
I know that he's very versatile, but what position would suit him? So you're saying centre could suit him, but what do you see him as when you think of him?
I see, like, realistically, I see him more as your 14 utility role that comes on and, you know, sparks a bit of energy into the side and busts through the middle of some tired defense. I think that's where he'd be best suited. And I think that's where you'll see him play for the Jets in 2022, will be off that bench sort of role. He grew up playing the halves, so, you know, he could be a sneaky for halfback. Watch out.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's really exciting. Okay, so the next wish we have is from Josh. Josh would like to see Cameron McInnes have an injury-free season and prove Josh right by becoming one of the best locks in the NRL. He's played 130 NRL games since 2014, and it's pretty exciting what he's going to bring to us over a long contract. Josh, go for it.
I've been saying this privately in amongst circles for a while, that I think that Cam is going to be a top 5 signing of all time for the club. Potentially, maybe the best. Like, I've got Luke Lewis as the best signing in my lifetime. I think Cam can better that. I think he's that good. I rate him that highly. I'm going to be so upset if he doesn't prove me right. But I just think his attitude, his work ethic, his defensive ability is arguably second to none in the comp. His tackle efficiency is ridiculous. It's in the high 90s, I believe. And I think his off-field stuff as well. Some of the stories I've heard about what he's been doing at training is just sounds ridiculous. And I think if he can have an injury-free season and provide some backup to Blayke as well here and there, I just think he's going to be incredible for us. Leadership. We've snagged 2 captains from our 2 biggest rivals. I mean, come on. That's
wild. That's absolutely wild, man. Speaking of Cam Webb, what do you think about Cam McInnes?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see him play this year, and I think he's one of those players. You kind of kept forgetting that he signed to the club. You know, we kept hearing all this news throughout the year about these new signings and stuff like that. And every now and again, you would think, "Oh, hang on, we've got Cam playing next year as well." And I think the comparison to Luke Lewis is pretty good. Like, I sort of feel like he's going to be really reliable, solid part of that forward pack, and I think that's going to really set us in, set some really great foundation for solid defense in particular. So I'm actually, of all the new guys as such, I'm actually kind of really keen to see how he plays. He's kind of one of, I'm really keen to see him run out.
Jards, what do you think?
I agree with Josh a lot. I think that, this recruitment class for this year is very, very strong. There's a lot of star power in there. But I think Cam McInnes is the most important of all of them to the team's, I guess, prospects, solely because he comes in, for me, as that McInnes type piece, the last piece, the glue that kind of holds the rest of everything else together. And the versatility that he has, being able to move from lock to hooker. There's training pressure now on Brails to make sure that he's on his game. That will make him a better player. But even in times where, he's not having his greatest game, or he needs a spell, we have the ability to just shift. And it's a very easy shift too, right? Cam moves over to hooker. Dale probably just goes back over to lock, and then we bring one of the big boppers in off the bench. This is assuming that Dale starts to prop. Who knows? But I agree very much with Joshy's assessment of Cam's importance to the team, and to that end, I also hope, and it's probably one of the most important wishes on this list, that he is healthy all season, because we really need that.
Gary, you've been working with him for a while now. He came to the club mid-season training. What do you've told me he's a gun. What are your thoughts on him?
He's got some guns on him too, I'll tell you that much. But no, Cam's really good both on and off the field, and he's a really good bloke, and he's working really hard. And as Jard said, it's that competition now, and Blayke knows he's not the only hooker in the side, and we've signed Jardian Ormsby as well. So he obviously came down from the Intrust Super Cup. He was the player of the year there, and he's a really good hooker as well. So Blake's just lifted up and up and up this preseason. So having 2 guys like that, and even just the fact that Brails was out there 80 minutes every game through the whole season, to be able to spell him for 15 minutes and just freshen him up a bit, the longevity that he'll get out of his, not only his career, but in the season, it's so valuable for us come the back end and come that final series that we will be in as a top 4 finish. And I just think Cam's really, really good, a really key piece for the club, definitely.
All those stories about him where the one that I always go on about is where the Dragons would lose a game and his teammates would put like music on afterwards or whatever, and he'd make them turn it off.
He was like in tears, like
sit there
upset.
And sit there and wallow. That's exactly what you want.
I love that.
That's what he's bringing, that kind of attitude, that no BS attitude, win at all costs. Like he's almost, I hate to say it, in that Gallon mold where he seems really competitive and he just wants to win, and that's what we need. We definitely need that. We haven't had that for a little while. I
got told a story by our good friend Terry. Guys, maybe you can tell us if it's true or not, that there was a poor session and he made the entire squad do the entire session again.
I wasn't there when that happened, but I may have heard that rumor. So I'm not sure if it's true because I wasn't there, but that's something that I could definitely see happening. And, just the work ethic that guys like him and Finucane and even Nico bring to the club is just, if you're not doing something right, don't bother doing it at all, basically. Yeah. So yeah, it's really good, really exciting.
All right. We mentioned Blayke in this conversation, and we're going to go on to what looks to be the third last wish, and that is Josh, Cam, and Sam all want Blayke Brailey to have a breakout year. Cam wants to see more kicking from dummy half. Over the past 3 seasons, he's played 59 games, starting in 44 of them. And a guy that I think has the world at his feet still, only 3 years into his career, just been signed for a long-term contract. And I think it's time. I think we're all onto the same idea. I think it's time that he stepped up. I mean, Gary, you and I have spent some time down at the Sharks watching him train, and in awe at his work ethic and his skill in particular. The stuff he gets up to at training is crazy. And it's time that someone brought that out, and maybe that is a combination of Fitzgibbon and Cam McInnes. But Gary, let's start with you. What do you think about this wish from some of us?
I think it's something that I mentioned before with that whole 15-minute spell that he might get from Cam McInnes. I think that'll just unlock a bit more of his creativity in attack. And, he won't be as gassed defending for 60 straight minutes, that when it gets to that back 20 minutes of a game, he'll throw in his 40-20 from dummy half, or, his little kick or his little run that he's got, because he'll have the energy and he'll have the clearer mind to think a bit more forward about what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. So, yeah, I think this year could definitely be the year. Obviously, every year you hear about, he needs to put on a bit of size, but this year he's actually come back a lot bigger. He used to be on a strict diet. Last year, he was told to eat Maccas every day just to try and bulk up as much as he could. And he just never stacked on weight. He's just a really lean, no body fat, muscly dude. But now he's starting to hit, a bit of size. And I'm really excited about what he's about to bring this year in attack, because of that little spell that he should be getting, at whatever period of the game it is. I think it will just unlock that back half for him.
I wonder what's wrong with him, because I have Maccas every day and I put on weight.
Hey, I'm with you, Shinazzi. So I don't know how he does it, but I love a Big Mac.
And how has he been in the off season? I know you've talked about it a little bit, but can you elaborate a bit more also on like his attitude and is he behaving different at training, if you know what I mean? Like, is he acting differently?
I wouldn't say he's acting. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's acting differently, but I'd say he's definitely he's putting in those little extra efforts. Like the other day, training was over, everyone went home. The next day's a day off, but him and Nico came in and they were working together and kicking and 40-20s and kicking to each other, tackles, all that sort of stuff. And just to see him come in on that day off with Nico was just, the spines working together. They want to gel. Obviously, it's something that they want to do together, but yeah, I didn't see much of that last year. So I think it's a good step forward. And I think he knows with Jaden Beryl on his backside and Cam McInnes there ready to take over if needs be, he needs to put in the effort and he needs to work a bit harder. And the professionalism from those older guys is rubbing off on him a bit more. So yeah, some things have definitely changed, but Blake's always been a kid with a good attitude and a hard-working ethic. So nothing's changed too much, but yeah, he's definitely different.
And Cam, what do you think about Blayke?
Yeah, I think this is a topic that's popped up on the podcast, pretty regularly, Sam, and about Gary kind of makes a good point there. I guess for some, you kind of wonder whether he's being intentionally held back in some of that creativity by the coach and the direction. How much of that creativity is limited by fitness and exhaustion, things like that, and how much is direction. And so, not only I'm keen to see him play under a new coach, but hopefully he's given a bit more rein to be creative and some of those 40-20s were great. And there's a few times this season, Sam, when we were missing our shots at field goal where we, up in the stand, we were calling out for him to take the shot. And so based on your insight, Sam, so I would just love him to kind of like just step up to that level to be, one of the real superstars of the team. And I guess he gets that way by not only being incredibly reliable, but having those sparks of innovation and, impromptu play that I think that's in his game.
Hey, Gary, is it a confidence thing with him? I mean, I've interviewed him a few times and he's kind of confident in his kind of humble, quiet way. Does he need to be brought out of his shell?
I don't think so. He's good friends with Toby Rudolph, so you can imagine what goes on between those two.
I'm talking on the field. Does he need to come out of his shell on the field?
I don't think so. I think for me, it's just that whole exhaustion piece where like a young guy getting ran up by all those big guys, 80 minutes every game, every week. It's just like going to take it out of you. And I think, if he can sort of maybe become a bit fresher from a break, that's what will unlock his creativity for me.
All right, Josh, this is one of your wishes. What do you think?
Yeah, I echo the sentiments of everyone so far in terms of getting a little spell here and there is just going to be really good for his year, good for his game. I think he gets a hard rap sometimes about people saying he doesn't run enough and he doesn't do enough. It's like the guy's making 50 tackles a game, and he doesn't miss many. And he's one of those guys that chases an offload, and he's doubling his efforts, and that gasses you. And I think it's probably a tactical and coaching decision, at least it was probably the last year, where it's like, you've got to conserve yourself. If he's taking like 8 runs a game, he's going to make his 50 tackles. Like, he's going to miss tackles. And then if he falls off a tackle and concedes a try, then he gets burnt by the fans that way too. So you can't have it both ways sometimes. You've just got to let this kid develop. He's still very young. I know he's got 50 odd games under his belt now, but he's still a kid. He's still learning his game, and now he's had 2 makeshift coaches really for his entire career. So I think we give him the benefit of the doubt this year. But he's got to start proving. Now he's got the big contract. He's on the big money now, and the club has shown a lot of faith in him. And I love the kid. I think he's going to be fantastic, and I know he will provide. But I just want to see a little bit more. But I've given him all the confidence in the world that he'll do it.
And Jardian, you were crying out for some competition for Blayke, and now he's got it in 2 other guys around him at least. Where do you see Blayke going next season?
I would love for Fitz to pair him with someone like Dale Finucane as like a mentor of sorts, so that Dale can say to him, you have the tool set to be an Origin player. Your goal should be playing well enough to be an Origin player. Let's do it. And really just challenge him to get to those levels. And Dale strikes me as the type of person who will lay out, the expectations of him. And Blayke has every opportunity now, between his contacts with Fitz, the fact that he's got Finucane in the team. Nico was in the Emerging Blues for a while, I think named on the, reserve list last year, I think it was. So he's playing. Blayke is now surrounded by Origin players, and he has the opportunity to cement himself in that mix. I mean, this could be an Origin spine, right? Quality level. Like, I'm not entirely sure that, Will's going to replace, anyone at the back. I think Latrell's probably going to be in the centers for a while as well. So, because he can't, get in the back line over Tommy Turbo. So I don't know that that's in play right now. But, I mean, this spine should be aspiring to Origin level execution on that stuff. And if Fitz can kind of make that happen and squeeze that much lemon out of the that much juice, out of the Brailey lemon, then that would be a great outcome.
Okay. Hopefully we can see that. Definitely one of my favorite players. We are now down, if my math is correct. If it's not, we'll live with it. The second last wish, and it is specifically from Josh and from Gary. And they want to see a settled halves pairing. And I'm not sure if they both agree on this or not, but Trindle and Hines to cement themselves as the halves pairing for the next 5 years. So I'll point out that Trindle's played 23 games over the past 2 seasons, mainly in 2021. Trindle is 22 years old. Nico's played 36 NRL games since 2019, obviously at a club where it's hard to get a gig. He's aged 25, so relatively still young for a footballer. Josh, why don't you start us off here with Trindle and Hines and having a settled halves pairing as well?
Yeah, I'm probably the self-anointed leader of the Trindle train. Okay. I think I'm running this ship. Okay, I think that was ship, not the other one. By the way, I did not swear.
You're the driver of the train.
Yeah, I'm leading it. I think he's got all the makings of a potential Queensland number 7, and that, I also say that with a smirk because I don't think their halves depth is that strong as in Queensland in general. But I think he can be that good. I think he's got all the makings. He's got the pass. He's got the kick. He's pretty strong defensively. I know he gets shoved off a lot, but his actual technique is quite solid, and he always has a crack. I'd rather him get beat off and smash to the ground than doing a couple of SJs, pretending like putting the arm out and going, oh, like, you know, blaming someone else. Like Tricky will always have a go. Can kick goals. I think he kicked at a better percent than Nico this year, actually. And he's smart too. He's a smart footballer. He knows when to run. He knows when to pass, and he's only going to get better. And I think with Fitz there, with all these Origin guys around him, I have full faith in him. And Nico, you know, I think he's going to work. And I think if they can build a strong relationship with Will and Blayke, that whole spine could be 5 years minimum.
And do you think that in round 1, there's a realistic chance that'll be happening?
I'll be shocked if it's not, to be honest. And I think Fitz should say to Braden, this is your spot for 10 games, no matter what, and own it. And then if it's not working out after 10, reassess. But I think give him an extended crack starting playing 80 minutes every week. Give him the keys. And
do you have Moylan at 14?
Oh, that's a whole nother debate, I think. I've got a lot of, it could be Moylan, it could be Tricky, it could be
well, hang on, you got Tricky starting.
I mean, sorry, not Tricky, Tracy.
Okay.
Tracy or Moylan. Take your pick. Depends. I mean, Tracy covers more positions. Moylan's probably a more solid 6 or 7 replacement.
So he's not a high priority at this point for you, Matt Moylan.
I love Moser. I really love him, and I've defended him for a long time, and I will continue to. But I think Tracy probably gives you a little bit more zip, and he can fill in literally 1 to 13. He literally could play front row, and he'd run through a brick wall for you. So he probably gets it on that.
All right, Gary, you want to see settled halves pairing? Who would you prefer? I know it's hard for you to say sometimes about these sort of things because you know these guys really well, but are you able to say who you'd prefer to start, or do you want to avoid that? Or
I'll throw out the disclaimer that it's definitely Josh who's all aboard the Trindle train.
Gotcha.
For me, I hadn't actually decided, and I'm not off the Trindle train, but I'm not off the Moylan train either.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just all about finding that best combination and running with it from the get-go. I just don't want the chopping and changing that happened last year to affect our start to the season and ultimately what happens in the back end. Like, as Josh said, Tricky's got all the makings of a great halfback. So, you know, he is a competent goal kicker. He's a strong runner of the ball. Like, there was those defensive efforts where he was tackling a guy out against the corner post against Manly late in the season there. It's like those little efforts that Tricky brings, it's everything that you want in a halfback. And he's young. He's got so many years ahead of him. So if it's Tricky, pair him with Nico, and I think it'd go really well. But Moylan, on the other hand, has come back really, really well from his preseason, the best I've seen him since he started with the club. And you can just tell that he's hell-bent on getting that spot and making it his own and working really hard with Nico to make it something special. So I don't know what pairing it's going to be because they've all been training in every position. It's confusing the hell out of me, but whatever it is, I just want it to be decided and stuck to from the get-go.
It has to be said, and I know we're not talking about Moylan for the moment, but it has to be said that when he was on the field last year, he was one of our best players.
Yeah.
So
Easily.
it's very confusing. It's all very confusing.
And like all three of those guys are really good ball runners. So
Yeah,
we're going to be a dangerous side no matter who's on the field. But yeah, just whatever combination is chosen from the get-go, I just think we need to stick with it and iron out the creases over the first few rounds and not chop and change.
Cam Webb, what do you think about our halves pairing to start with?
I'm 100% on Trindle. And I think, to be frank, I think he did enough this past season to deserve that first crack. And I think he brings a lot more to the team with his kicking game as well. I think, the variety of his kicking, and, Sam, you touched on this a lot in previous podcasts about having a variety of kickers available to us in the team and spreading that focus of the defense against us. And I just, I thought that Trindle brought variety of kicking as well as, the quality of it. And I'll be actually really disappointed if he doesn't run out round one. So I'm 100% in there.
Get on the train.
I'm on the train.
Where do you put Moylan then in your round one team?
So I think I agree with what everyone said. He when he was on the field, he was great, but I don't know whether what he brings to the team is so much greater than what Trindle can bring to the team in his variety that he pushes Trindle out. And I kind of would like that broader skill set that Trindle brings, but that's not. I don't mean to kind of be too critical of Matt either. I mean, I wish he can find a place in the team that works, but just for me, I'm all in on Trindle.
All right, Jardian, what are your thoughts?
Assuming Nico is going to be in the halves, choosing between Moisa and Trindle tricky for me. Is almost like a pick your poison scenario, right? Like they both do things well. They both do things that kind of make you scratch your head at times. For me, it's not even to do with what they look like with the ball. I would pick the best defensive halves pairing to come out in round one. And for me, that would be tricky next to Nico. I think Moisa got targeted a little bit by the opposition, and a couple of times beyond targeting, he got a little bit steamrolled by the opposition, which is, Tricky had the same problem at times, but it never felt as though he was being targeted as directly as we saw with Moisa. And for me, if you're going to make big improvements in the team, it's probably more on the defensive end than it is with the ball. And to that end, I would be focusing more on which halves pairing is going to be able to stand up defensively. And at the moment, that would be Tricky and Nico for me. But I would have Moisa on the bench ahead of Tracy for the time being, because should anything go awry in the halves, and it could be injury, it could just be poor form, I would want to have someone in there that I could just confidently throw out and know that they'll be relatively okay. Really hard call on Connor. I mean, I'm hoping Connor plays in the centers to that end, because he deserves to be in the team. He definitely should be in the team. But if I had to choose with a gun to my head, I would pick Tricky and Nico starting with Moisa as my utility off the bench.
Very interesting. I lean towards Trindle and Hines. I really do. I think long term it all makes sense. But we do need to get off to a good start. So next year, I'm sure the coach next year isn't looking at it as a season that's just going to be like, we'll learn along the way and we'll get better as we go. He wants to win the games, and it's a tough call. It's a really tough call, but I'm with Josh. I don't really want to see a lot of back and forth between. I'd prefer that they sort of pick someone, third week of January and go, this is our idea for the halves. And then if something sort of goes wrong in the trials, whether it be injury or just a really bad call from one of the players or whatever, there's still time to tinker with that. But I'd be pretty disappointed if it was a rotating half system based on form only. So I'm not suggesting it will be. I'm sure the coach has things in his mind that he obviously wouldn't tell which is great. But we do need a settled halves pairing, as you boys have wished for.
The other thing for me as well is like Moylan's such a confidence player. And you look at him all last year, he did not trust his legs at all. And you could tell as soon as he got in any space, he'd back off. As soon as he was put in a position where he needed to push off his legs to defend, he just wouldn't do it. So I can totally get teams targeting him throughout the year. But I think this year, from what I've seen, he'll be a different player.
The trials have been something I just haven't cared about for the last couple of years. There's never been, I guess, too much of a storyline that has compelled me to care all too much. Very, very different this upcoming season. And I think it starts in the halves, right? Like, let's see how these halves pairings go. Let's get a look at every set of pairings, and let's see how they go against the opposition's best lineup as well. I mean, we had some games last year where, some trials last year where, Luke Metcalf looked amazing. But he was playing against weaker opposition in the trials. And so let's get a look at our combos here. And I would love if it's treated a little bit like, the City Country game was treated back in the day as a real trial, as a real selection merit tool for this. And it could be very interesting. I'd love to see how that goes.
Hey, Gary, I was going to say, is there any intel into how Fitzgibbon treats trial matches yet, or is it too early to say?
I have absolutely no idea, but it's definitely, as Jardian said, like these trial matches coming up are so crucial, not just only in the halves, like that's a massive key piece, but you look at our forward pack, who misses out, who's on the bench, like there's so many unanswered questions that are so exciting to see how we run out in round one.
Yeah, that's good. Depth is an amazing thing, and I've said it on every third episode we've done, is that in 2016 we had a lot of depth in a lot of positions, not all, but a lot. And it takes you a long way. So
like Jack Williams was one of our best players last year. Like I don't know where he fits next year.
He's got to be on the bench.
Yeah,
he's got to be, but is he?
Yeah, he will be.
He better be.
You have to.
We'll see, Shinaz, we'll see.
Well, Fitzgibbon's not watching the tape from last year then, if he's not. That's the only answer, because he was unbelievable. You can't leave him out. It's going to be hard. I feel for my boy Royce, who I think's got already a great skill set, and I think the improvement, there's a lot of room to improve on what he's got. But I think Royce will be sort of 50-50 whether he gets a shot in the first few rounds. I think, Tolman might be. I mean, it's hard to say with Craig Fitzgibbon, because he might just be a guy who loves the veteran. So he might go, Tolman, you're my 17, But there's a few guys like that. I mean, I love him to death, but is Ueli a guaranteed top 17? I'd have him in there. He is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think to Tolman, we're going to give Tolman 4 games. I think he needs 4 for 300.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So as long as he gets those, I'm happy.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, a lot of depth and a lot of questions to be asked. We want Pele to play some games, so someone's going to miss out there. It's pretty good depth, pretty compelling.
It's going to be injuries, so everyone's going to get a game.
Yeah, but
Moiser will get games. Tracy will get games. Pele will get a couple of games.
Again, you look at 2016, Josh, and we had the fewest amount of players that played, which went a long way for us. Basically, rep games were the only games that blokes got a shot, and they were really good for us, as we've talked about a lot. So I'm pretty happy with the top 30.
Yeah.
So that's 11 of our wishes. I've got a wish, and it's a bit of a silly one, but I'd like some discussion on it, of course. Dale Finucane, incredible leader, incredible forward, and a really good singer-songwriter, as we've seen. And if you haven't, go look at him on YouTube. And it got me thinking about music and the Cronulla Sharks. And I'm looking at you, Gary Dover. Sometimes you DJ when you have to and you want to. And what's it going to take? And look, as a kid, I didn't mind Motley Crue. What's it going to take to not have Kickstart My Heart as the run-out music? Having said that, I like the song. It's all good. Love Tommy Lee. But what's it going to take to have a bit of a change?
not speaking to me. You'll need to speak to our football events manager. But look, I think, I just always look at college football in America, and some of their pre-game songs or rituals that they do are just next level. And I just don't think we'll never get to that in Australia.
Okay.
In the NRL. But I feel like, if we can freshen it up a bit and maybe find a bit of identity within a song and make it our own, I think it could be something cool, could be something fun. So I don't know what it could be, but yeah.
The problem is you have to adapt to a whole lot of different age brackets, and I'm not naive enough to. I can see that straight away. So it can't be just something that someone my age likes. It's got to be something for everyone.
That's the hardest part, isn't it?
There's some years between you and I, Gary, and some music genres between us, but we can meet in the middle, right?
100%. What would be your ideal run out song?
Oh, look, I'm not gonna put that one out. I'm just saying, like. When you said American college, okay, there's 100,000 kids singing I Won't Back Down by Tom Petty. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But I'm not asking for that. I just think that it's a bit stale, the old Motley Crue at the moment. They had a resurgence 4 or 5 years ago with their movie, and they were,
this all goes back to like my point on the brand refresh. It's not just the logo or how we look or our colors. It's like, we're about to have a state-of-the-art leagues club, as we mentioned at the top of the show. We need to start bringing our brand into the now, and changing music is a simple little thing that can lift us, even just slightly. And I think we need to do stuff like this to feel a bit different and to feel like we're heading in the right direction. It's a new era. We're under a new coach.
Yeah.
All these young guys coming through. It's like, let's start doing things a little bit differently and writing our own story now.
And I've always not liked music played during a game. I have to point that out, So I've noticed the finals in the last 5 years, scrum, here comes a song, Penalty, here comes a song. I don't like it. Not a fan. But I think that, halftime and just throughout the entertainment of the day night, you can have songs that people are familiar with and of all ages again, and incorporate it somehow into your entertainment. And I think it just provides a bit of lightness to why you're there. Some of us have been to, I'm looking at here, who hasn't been, maybe Cameron Webb. Most of us have been to overseas sporting events. It's party, it's fun. It's like, let's have a great, memorable time. And I don't want to become American or English or whatever. I'm just saying, like, we can do more. And I think a lot of it comes down to music. Everyone likes music, right? To a different degree.
I think the big point you mentioned there, Shinazzi, is like scrum, music. What is the point and how does that enhance the game as a viewer? And for me, it's like, it's just thrown on to kill out a bit of silence for a minute or whatever it is. And if it doesn't enhance the viewing experience, why do we do it?
What do you think, boys?
Remember, in 2016, we didn't need any of that stuff because the place was rocking. When you win, like that creates its own fun. That creates its own atmosphere. Like,
sure.
I remember a game in 2016, I went when we beat Para when it was like for 10 in a row or something. So like one of our records. Man, that place was unbelievable. It honestly felt like an APL game. Whereas
Absolutely.
like, I know we have to be good to get that, but if we're good, like it'll just happen. You don't need the gimmicks and stuff. Like I know they're fun. And like maybe something to run out to, like Canberra have got the Viking Club, like something we could work on. Like that would be like, oh, that's what the Sharks do. Like when you're at the pub with the boys, like you go, oh, that's cool. That thing that you guys do in your run out's pretty awesome. Like just something little, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, and you can't manufacture that. You can't just go, let's have a meeting and here it is. Like obviously it's got to be well thought out. It's got to be meaningful. And you're right, Josh. Like it doesn't have to be music. I came up with music because I like music, and Dale Finucane likes music. But you're right. 2016 was just fun. It was a fun time, and we were killing it. I get it, but probably along with music, let's make the games at Shark Park really special. It's going to be special just walking through the gates. I get that, but yeah, Kickstart My Heart again. I've probably got it on CD somewhere, but what do you think?
Crowd in itself. Coming back to PointsBet Stadium, having 5,000, let's say, at Netstrata on a good day, you could hear a pin drop. It was terrible. If you had that 5,000 in PointsBet Stadium, it's a totally different atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then we're going to add another 5,000 onto that and sell out the joint. It's going to be rocking from the get-go, hopefully.
Yeah.
To lift people to do the chants and the yelling and the screaming and the throwing of the beer that we used to do on Beer Hill. Like all that stuff just comes naturally when people are there.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting we do this, right? Because
let's just do it, Jards.
You would like some things to be organic, but my favorite ritual thing that is done in America is easily, hands down, the University of Wisconsin. At 3/4 time, the entire student section just jumps up and down like a mosh as Jump Around plays in the background. It's very easy to do, very simple.
It's not easy for everyone. No, I'm not even making fun of it as someone who, it's not that easy to do.
But even those who can't, Sam, who can't jump, they just wave their hands up and down like this and provide the ambience and beside it. And if you ever watch that on YouTube, like go check it out. It's like one of the most phenomenal things that you see, to the point where you have players on the opposition team jumping up and down with the fans who are cheering against them, because it's just fun to do. We actually once wanted to test this out while the players were running out in the second half with the CWSC back in the day. We just wanted to have one section that just jumped up and down as the players ran out to Jump Around. Now, imagine like kids, like Jump Around is one of those songs where everyone's kind of old enough to know what it is, but it's also hip enough for people today to kind of not be two things. Now, again, I'm not saying we would do this because most things that are great are organic, unlike the Viking clap, which is not organic and not started by the Raiders, even though they would like to believe it is. But I'm all in favor of anything that just brings a little bit of fun. I'd throw a few drinks up in the air as I was jumping up and down too. And if the team is winning and they come out to a whole stadium, you imagine being a player, you run out of the tunnel and the whole stadium is just jumping up and down. But even if you're winning, amazing. But even if you're coming out and you're down 20, not bad motivation to just look around and say, okay, these guys are with us. So let's pick this up.
My favorite college football thing is where they turn around and wave to the kids in the hospital. That gets me every single time. There's a hospital right looking over the stadium, and at a certain time, every game, both teams and the crowd turn around to these very unwell kids and wave, and it's just beautiful. I know we're getting off topic, but
that's awesome.
No, it's good. The way that things are going, I reckon if we did do that, we'd all probably be turning around and waving to Gal in his penthouse pad at the top of the stadium, boxing money that he's made to be there.
Do we let's get serious for a minute. Do we think we're going to be able? Are we going to be free to go to Shark Park in a matter of months, the way we're heading in society, or is there any doubt there in anyone's mind?
They'll have to arrest me to stop me getting in there.
Oh, yeah, but that's like 20-something Josh talking. No fear. I'll never get sick. Touch wood, of course. You know what I'm saying, Josh?
No, I get it. I think it's a long time. Things change so quickly at the moment. I know like 2 weeks ago, there was 200 cases. Yeah, that's 5,000, so, I mean, God willing, we'll get there round 2 and it'll be a full stadium and everything will be fine. And we need to get tested to get in, but I mean, who knows?
Cam, let me ask you about the music first of all. What do you think about music at Shark Park? What should it be? What can you see? What kind of vibe?
I think, Sam, that would be about the worst job that you could give me to try to pick the song that the.
I understand what you're saying,
but I think what it comes down to, and all the things that we've talked about just now, it's about having a full house or as full a house as possible. People come into the game in a good mood. Sharks winning doesn't really matter, And I think that's one of the things. We all trudged into the grounds the last year, and it's a dull old entrance. There's not much food. You're not really you're not having a good time. But I know that's going to be completely different when we go back to Shark Park, and I think that. If there's a positive vibe for everyone coming in there, and of course, if we're winning, and if there's a big crowd, there's an energy there that everybody feeds off that you can't compensate for by just some good song selection, for people running out. And I think that, maybe we look at it from a different way. Like, how do we guarantee that we're maximizing the people at the ground and get the energy from that rather than worrying about what the what the music's being played and stuff like that.
So does the music matter at all, or am I making something out of nothing?
To be perfectly honest, and Sam, I've got some pretty strong opinions about music, but I think that in a setting like this, there's probably dozens of different songs that you could choose, which will make no difference.
Is it because, and I'm not saying I'm the biggest music fan in the world, but is it because I like music so much that I take this stuff a bit serious? Is that a thing, maybe?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But I think, Sam, as I've got older too, I've realized that there's there's a bigger, there's more people like different sorts of music, and you can still kind of get that sense of excitement or energy or whatever you're after. And I mean, coming back to my daughter who's writing the TikTok and stuff like that, there's songs that blow up and the kids love, which you and I might have thought there's no way in the world we would think about having that as a song played at a Sharks game, and yet that probably would engage with the teenagers in a way that we probably could comprehend.
Well, I guess that's my point. Like, can we move on from Kickstart My Heart is my point, maybe. And again, yes. I got no problem with the song. I really don't have a problem with the song. But I think maybe, does that song represent the Sharks is my point.
It still revs me up when they run out. That's
good. That's good.
And every time I listen to it in the car, I always think of Shark Park now.
Why didn't you say that 10 minutes ago?
Because I was letting everyone else talk.
That's a good enough answer. That's a great answer. Beautiful.
Yeah. It resonates with me, that song now. Like, that's my relationship to the song is now Shark Park. And it makes me happy when I hear that song. I'm like, man, I can't wait to be back at Shark Park, like, and have all those memories and make new ones.
Maybe can they turn it up louder, or there's something about it?
Just blare it, pump that thing.
Gary, tell Jess to turn it up louder.
Done.
All right. Well, I'm glad I raised that really important wish of mine. Let's see what Dale Finucane thinks. If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. I'm keen, Gary, to hear about his music tastes, and I want to know what Fitzgibbon likes.
I'm gonna have to ask them. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Let's get him on the show for you, and we'll do a full music SharkCast.
Well, I mean, that's a different thing we could do. But boys, that's our 12 wishes for a Sharkmas, and thank you so much for giving our listeners your time. It's very valuable. Fingers crossed everything worked with the recording. And again, shout out to Clinton, who is a couple hours away from going live on radio, dealing with people who aren't happy about life, and to our friend TK, who you guys need to go listen if you haven't listened to it. His last audio episode on his podcast was with Phil Bailey, and it's really cool. He's got a really good story, and there's a lot of shark stuff, but a really good story and a good conversation with our friend TK. And there are other people that appeared on the show throughout the year, and I appreciate them, and they know that they're appreciated by us. So we just couldn't get everyone. This is monumental. That how many of us? There's 5 of us on. So, Jardian, didn't I ask you about the music, didn't I?
You didn't. I just popped in there with the jump around thing. Anyway,
tell me about the music.
I mean
Wise man.
Past. We back in the day, I think it was 2011. The players used to run out to, I guess, what was kind of considered the pseudo hype song back then, which was "Rollin'" by Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Which a few people in the crowd and in the club had some strong opinions about that. I know Damo did not love Limp Bizkit at all when we were there. So we ended up getting to the end of the season. We said, you know what? Why don't we just kind of let the players choose what they run out to? Beautiful. So we took it to the players and we said, look, I mean, you guys are going to be the ones running out. Why don't you tell us what you want to run out to? And then, a few weeks go past. We haven't heard back from them. A month goes past. We haven't heard back from them. And then it's like a few days before the first home game of the season. And I think it was Jeremy Smith who, at the time, he very excitedly came up to me and said, oh, we know what song we want to run out to. That'll get us all hyped up. And I said, okay, great. What song is that? He said, "Rolling" by Limp Bizkit. Okay, you guys know that you're already running out to that song, right? Like, we're already playing that.
Oh my God.
There we go.
That's a great answer too, isn't it? Okay. That's a really good answer. Fair enough. Fellas, have a great holiday break, and we'll be back with another episode in the very near future. I should point out, because I didn't do it at the start of the show, but hopefully there's been some advertisements throughout the show start and probably the end. Thanks very much to Dyson Logistics, and thank you to the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and also to Jason Hawes at Crips and Pips Real Estate, fantastic supporters of the show. And we've got a big year ahead of us, and all of these gentlemen will be involved at some point. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed this special episode. Bit of fun, so hopefully you can take it for what it is. And guys, you got any parting words, thoughts, predictions?
Just thanks for a great year of providing some great content and having me on, Sam. Really appreciate it. Been listening for years and done a hell of a job yet again with by yourself in some tough circumstances with COVID. So thanks for everything.
You're very kind. I'm not looking for any sort of. You're very kind. Say something else, boys, about not me. Say something else. Gary, say something.
We love you, Sam Shinazzi.
Oh, Jesus.
No, but seriously, thanks for having us on. And it's been fun tonight, to get a few of the boys on and talk some footy, and hope everyone has a safe and enjoyable little break over this Christmas New Year's period. All right, Cam, how can we avoid mosquitoes?
You stay inside, social distance. The spiel, Sam. Hey, echoing everybody else, great work this year, Sam. And I think we should all enjoy a bit of calm before the storm, before the season kicks off pretty early next year. Really, I think we're all going to get pretty excited. So, enjoy the calm over the next few weeks. I reckon. Big year next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a big year. Jardian, as I call you, wise man, what do you got for me?
I feel like everyone's been so complimentary that it falls upon me to wear like the Rowdy Roddy Piper
Here we go.
heel role and ask, when am I going to get paid to be on this show?
Oh, there's different ways to get paid.
I'm just kidding. Just like everyone else, my man. Thank you for everything that you do.
The word heel and Jardian Ormsby are like universes apart. I hate to break it to you, bad boy.
I know that you hate personal attention and affection.
That's right.
But like everyone else, thank you for everything that you've done.
I appreciate everyone's support, and especially all the listeners. We do hear from them every week, and that's awesome. Speaking of heels, if you have a Stan account for the Stan streaming services, and I'm probably looking at Jardian at this point, go watch the show Heels. There's a season and there's another one coming. It's unbelievable. I'm just going to leave it at that. The Heels, Heels. Go watch it. 8 episodes. Write it down, Jards. Blew me away. Anyway, we got to go. Up Cronulla, Title Town. Here we come. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Whatever you celebrate. Bye-bye. Thanks, boys.
Thanks, Shinaz.
Heard that recorded. Cool.
Yeah, right. Any right.